Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pat Murray. I work here in Washington, D.C.'s VFW Legislative Headquarters. I'd like to thank you all for coming here for today's press conference. I'd like to thank our friends from Veterans Education Success, National Military Family Association, the American Legion, Military Officers Association, and Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America for their support and for their being a voice for our active duty members and their families who fell victim to predatory lenders. Serving the military involves unique challenges that are not found in other professions. Our soldiers move duty stations every few years and constantly redeploy to war, all the while raising a family, buying a home, and saving for college or retirement. The Military Lending Act is supposed to protect our military community from egregious lending practices, but that doesn't always happen. Predatory lenders supposedly offer easy money, but they really exploit our warfighters with extremely high interest rates. This practice needs to be corrected and it needs to be protected. That's why we call on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to investigate, hold companies accountable, and enforce these actions. With this, I'd like to turn over to our friend, Mike Saunders from Veterans Education Success for their comments on this subject.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time today. My name is Mike Saunders. I'm Director of Military Consumer Policy at Veterans Education Success. I'd like to start off today by saying that America's service members and their families feel like they have been taken hostage by DC politics. We are calling on the federal government to act to protect service members and their families from predatory lending. The Military Lending Act, passed with large bipartisan majorities, is arguably the most successful federal consumer protection law in the books. Between 2005 and 2018, there was an over 98% reduction in the number of service members who had to be helped out of payday loan-induced debt hell by the Navy and Marine Corps Relief Society. In fact, more military retirees who are not subject to the Military Lending Act's protections had to be helped out of debt traps than active duty service members in 2018. Further testament to the effectiveness of the Military Lending Act. Ever since the news broke last August that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was thinking about removing the sentries from the guard tower, by which I mean not supervising non-depository lenders for compliance with the MLA, veterans groups have been concerned. We know that, as the former head of the Office of Service Member Affairs, Holly Petraeus, said, payday lenders line up outside of military installations like bears on a trout stream. Any reduction in vigilance could have negative impacts on retention readiness, especially after the Department of Defense instituted continuous evaluation of service members' security clearance eligibility last year. The reality of the situation is that even under former Director Richard Cordray, CFPB was not doing supervisory findings in regards to the MLA or compelling immediate restitution to victims of MLA violations. Those realities mean that there is a reason for Congress to act, if only to ensure that service members and their families are never put in this position again. However, CFPB could have sent corrective language to Capitol Hill without stopping supervisory examinations, a power that has never been challenged in court. Stopping examinations is bad for service members, families, national security, costs the country $58,000 per service member that is kicked out due to losing their security clearance, and it's bad for lenders that don't want to violate the Military Lending Act and would prefer to be warned about noncompliance during routine examination versus being hit with a multi-million-dollar fine after the fact. The baseline for every group here is clear. We want supervisory examinations to resume. We want the CFPB to never put service members and their families in this position again, and we will not accept anything that results in lessened Military Lending Act protection. We are asking both the executive and legislative branches to come together to do the right thing. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. My name is Jen Davis, and I'm a Government Relations Deputy Director for the National Military Family Association. Last year, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau announced that they would cease supervising covered entities for compliance with the Military Lending Act, stating that CFPB does not have the authority to do so as under previous leadership. This means that no one is proactively ensuring compliance with the Military Lending Act. The National Military Family Association believes that when Congress granted administrative enforcement authority of the MLA to CFPB, that included ensuring compliance with the law. This particular section specifically references any applicable authorities available to the agency. We continue to wonder if CFPB has the authority to supervise for compliance with other federal consumer financial laws, why wouldn't they also have the authority to supervise for compliance with the MLA? Because of the lack of proactive protection, any effort to detect fraud is now on the shoulders of service members and their families. This means remaining highly vigilant when working with creditors, understanding what protections are covered under the MLA, and understanding who the enforcing agency is and where to submit a complaint if fraud is detected. Keep in mind that all of this significantly distracts from the mission of service members, whether at home or abroad, and places the financial readiness of military families at risk. We must get back to proactively ensuring creditors are compliant with the Military Lending Act. We are calling on the federal government to fix this on behalf of the nation's military families. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is John Kamen. On behalf of National Commander Brett P. Reistad and the 2 million members of the American Legion, I appreciate the opportunity to discuss this important issue. None of us are coming here with a partisan agenda. We're not experts in finance, and we don't have an ideological philosophy on the free market that we're looking to convince anybody on. We're simply some of the largest veterans organizations in the country with an abiding imperative to stand for policies that protect veterans, service members, and their families. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has been one of our strongest allies in this charge. From 2011 to 2017, CFPB delivered $130 million in financial relief as a result of actions taken on military complaints. For payday loans, CFPB projects that service members save a combined $35 million every year as a result of MLA rules. An anchor to CFPB's safety net for veterans and service members is its ability to visit payday lenders to ensure compliance with the Military Lending Act. These efforts supporting service members have received broad praise from the service branches, and as Sergeant Major of the Army Dan Daly shared at a hearing, they have done great things for our service members. Now, despite this record of excellence, the CFPB turned an about-face on military families in 2018 by halting its use of supervisory powers to fulfill its mandate. CFPB's leadership at the time was that the Dodd-Frank Act did not specifically identify the MLA among the 19 statutes under the CFPB's authority. We strongly disagree. But this should not, and must not, preclude Congress from asserting its power to articulate this authority into law. As such, the American Legion's National Executive Committee passed a resolution over its spring meeting earlier this month to support enforcement of the Military Lending Act with 2 specific clauses. Number 1, we resolve to officially support the authority of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to conduct supervisory examinations for violations of the Military Lending Act. 2, we resolve to support legislation that will rationally improve service member financial protections and enforcement provisions of the Military Lending Act. These positions are not mutually exclusive, because right now there's only one clear winner: the payday lenders that flock outside of military bases convincing young soldiers and Marines to take high-interest loans. The payday lenders who now no longer need to worry over a visit from the CFPB to check their books. The status quo looks like a place where the special interests of usury lenders are placed ahead of the financial protections of our service members. And we must not allow intransigence of any stripe to perpetuate this any further. We look forward to working with Congress, the CFPB, and the Department of Defense to continue to support financial protections for the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Travis Orr with Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. IAVA is proud to stand with our VSO partners and fully support the call on CFPB to resume their supervisory role in enforcement of the MLA. We are also calling on CFPB to reinstate another important service for service members and veterans, the Financial Coaching Initiative. From April 2015 until March of this year, 2019, the Financial Coaching Initiative provided financial services to service members and veterans managing times of transition. IAVA's Rapid Response Referral Program, or RIP, is IAVA's high-tech, high-touch class management and referral services program. CFPB's Financial Coaching Initiative was RIP's go-to financial coaching and budgeting referral service. Nearly 40% of our referrals involve emergency financial assistance, and because RIP provides a holistic case management approach, they match every financial assistance referral with a budgeting resource. Their main objectives are to help clients with their immediate needs, but also ensure that their clients are truly able to get on path to a more stable future. CFPB played an integral role in that, and RIP referred over 250 veterans and family members to this program since its creation in 2015. Some of the reasons that CFPB was such a vital and effective resource for our clients was the remote option of their services, the high level of training, and military and cultural competencies from CFPB coaches and their quick response times. The closure has created a significant gap in services of IVA's clients and the veteran community at large. There are no other programs like this of its kind out there, and they are continuing to scramble to identify alternatives that are viable alternatives. IVA calls on CFPB to reinstate the financial coaching initiative in order to better serve our service members and veterans. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Corey Titus. I'm the Associate Director of Currently Serving and Retired Affairs with the Military Officers Association of America. The Military Lending Act is one of many vital consumer financial protections that ensure service members, their families, and veterans avoid the debt trap. The CFPB has proposed delaying requirements to loan underwriting that are supposed to go into effect August 19th. Requiring financial service providers to verify that loans can be repaid is common sense. Mo is committed to supporting the MLA and ensuring it remains viable to our service members and their families. A strong, enforced MLA keeps those in uniform focused on their mission of protecting our nation and not to be distracted by financial complications originating from unethical business practices. We urge Congress to ensure CFPB continues to provide the necessary supervision to regulate MLA compliance. The CFPB should follow its own precedent and supervise companies to assess compliance instead of by regulating after-the-fact enforcement. Mo's responsibility as a military and veterans service organization is to protect service members, veterans, and their families, and to hold accountable those who ignore or devalue their rights. The CFPB should not delay the underwriting requirements. They must go into effect on time. Thank you.
So essentially, to wrap up all of our feelings, we would very much like to see CFPB be a proactive organization to make sure that service members aren't harmed and then have to seek restitution. Having a reactionary role is less than ideal, and we'd like to see them aggressively out there making sure that our service members and their families are protected every day. This generally concludes our press conference. If anybody has any questions, myself or our colleagues up here, we'd be more than happy to answer them. Yes?
Yeah, since this was announced last year, have any of you seen sort of an increase in these companies, any sort of comeback? I know there's been some, as you said, there's been a reduction in those payday loans, but are we starting to see it go the opposite direction now?
The answer is I have not actually. So we're trying to get ahead of this before that happens.
Do you guys see the need for any legislative changes, or are you confident that CFPB has this authority already?
So there have been a lot of different opinions on that, whether they have the authority or they don't. And ultimately, we're not in favor of legislation or in favor of keeping the status quo. We just want to see it get done. Whether that requires legislation, so be it. We want them to get to an end state of being a proactive organization. If that takes legislation, so be it.
I think the baseline for everybody is that protections are not lessened, and that is, we want them to get back to doing supervisory examinations and protections to stay as strong as they are. However that gets done, we want the federal government to do its job.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming here. Anything else? We're here for questions afterwards.